Hi, everybody. This is Coach Raymond. I have a little treat for you today. This is Janice Lum. She went on the carnivore diet and saw some great benefits. I would like to show you her quick, just a little snapshot, and we're going to give her an intro. This was her as a vegetarian. She went from vegetarian to carnivore. And this carnivore that she's done, ribeye only, is the results. And we are going to ask her a few questions, and we're going to see how her journey went. Janice, welcome. And tell us a little bit about your vegetarian journey and why you thought vegetarian was kind of the way. Was it for health? Was it for, saving the animals? What were the reasons there?
So I grew up just eating the standard American diet, and then I'm Chinese heritage-wise, so I grew up with my mom making Chinese food, and and then in the house we would have sometimes we would have Italian food. We were American as well, so we ate a lot of barbecue. So I grew up eating that diet, and then I was always really skinny, right? And then the whole reason I started to do vegetarian was that in my 20s, I think I was 28, I met a guy on Match.com and we started dating, and he was a vegetarian. And so he started telling me all this stuff about, it's like, it's a better diet, it's healthier for you. And so during that time, I didn't stay with him very long, but I started eating vegetarian. And so then I just kept going with that. I kept eating like that. And then after that, around the same time frame, I got into yoga. And so I was, yoga people, they're always vegetarian. So I started reading more about it. So it was kind of a combination of health and then, thinking about animals, thinking about nonviolence. I read all of those, philosophical principles, and I really resonated with it. And so I stayed vegetarian for 9 to 10, almost 10 years. And I felt like I was doing the right thing. It wasn't any one specific reason after dating that guy, but it was like, I felt very noble, and then I ended up moving to Santa Cruz. So of course, everyone's a vegetarian, a vegan in Santa Cruz. And so I tried being a vegan as well, because you're always striving as a vegetarian to be like more holy, and cutting out more and more stuff. And so I never really lasted very long as a vegan, but I really didn't feel very great on it. And so then I ended up, adding, I became the, lacto-ovo-pescatarian. I started adding eggs back, and then I was eating dairy and fish. But even then, I look back now on all those photos, and I was very kind of like really pale, kind of, I always wanted to be super skinny. I was just like obsessed with being, you can see I'm pretty, like my arm in that picture. I was very, very thin and very pale, very cold. And I just, over time, I just got more and more problems that they just kind of gradually came on, because, I was still in my 20s and then my 30s, but by my late 30s, I really started to have like significant impacts that I didn't really.
How old were you here?
Like, let's see, 2013. I'm not very good at math. I was born in 1978, so.
78. Okay, got it.
I can't do it in my head. Should I get my calculator?
No. I was just kind of curious. Got it. Go on.
But basically, from 28 to 37, I was vegetarian, and
right.
So
28, 37. Okay.
And I was eating, a lot of vegetables, tons of fiber. I was just like, I really believe that fiber was like, the more fiber, the better, right? I was eating so much fiber, and I would eat, I tried to eat everything kind of whole grain, but I would eat pasta and I would eat rice. And so I don't know, did you want me to talk about all of my health problems or?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So this is you in your 20s, I'm assuming. Is that right?
That's actually more, that's 30s. Those are my, 30s. Those are actually the later years of my 30s.
All right. So during this time, how was your health? I mean, how did you feel in general, as far as mental health and physical health at that time?
Let's see. So mental, I have a lot of mental illness in the family. So, you know, we have bipolar, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, and anxiety. And so I have always, my whole life, no matter what diet I was on, I was always struggling with pretty severe depression, a lot of anxiety. One of my therapists said, you know, she diagnosed me with obsessive anxiety. And so that kind of like fed into my, you know, obsession and perfectionism around food and like trying to control everything. So I was definitely depressed for sure. And I remember when I was 30, let's see, like around 29 or 30, I moved to Santa Cruz and I didn't really know anyone. And so I was in a bad relationship. I got really depressed and my primary doctor put me on Prozac.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I actually did, you know, I felt better, you know, less emotional, but I was very flat. It's very flat and kind of like no highs, no lows. And I had like no libido. There were a lot of side effects. And so that was, you know, kind of, I was already a solid vegetarian by then. So I was definitely depressed. And then I actually got my liver enzymes tested and they were elevated while I was on the Prozac. So even though I was it was alleviating some of my depression and anxiety symptoms, I ended up just quitting like cold turkey because I was like, I don't want to mess with my liver. So I just stopped. So basically I was just always really, really depressed, really obsessive in my thinking. I mean, my dad has OCD, so wasn't sure if I had a OCD, but I definitely had a tendency to like crazy anxiety, very depressed. And I think a hint of bipolar because my mom's whole side, she has 6 total on her side kids, and they're basically all bipolar.
Were you on any other medication or say supplements during that vegetarian diet?
I tried everything under the sun. I was always trying to manage my mental health. So I tried, you know, fish oil and, you know, you name it, like B vitamins or, you know, the only thing I didn't try was St. John's wort or whatever, I think, but I literally was always, even up through my late 30s, I was always like on Lucky Vitamin, trying everything under the sun. Like everything you would read that says, oh, this will fight depression, I would try it. And nothing ever really worked.
Right.
And so I was so focused on my mental health that I didn't realize that my physical health had actually deteriorated really significantly. Like I said, I was really into fiber. And so I was trying so hard to eat all these like raw vegetables and like kale and, you know, any kind of grain I would eat. Like if it was a pasta, I'd try to eat like the whole grain version of it. And I basically was always super bloated, had a huge stomach ache, significant abdominal pain, right? Like sometimes I would get such a horrible abdominal pain that I couldn't even, like I would eat a meal and then I couldn't walk. It was like a doubling over, sort of like I'd have to kind of like hobble around. I had really horrible gas, like just gas 24/7 and a stomach ache from trying to hold it all the time. But ironically, with all that fiber, I was super constipated. So I couldn't go. I was always straining. I was always trying to hydrate, thinking that would help me. And then I got like hemorrhoids, and just like I would bleed. It was really,
Wow.
that part was really painful. And then, you know, I also would have this weird, I think it was very insulin sensitive. So after every meal, I would, especially if it was carb heavy, I would get like narcolepsy basically. Like I would fall asleep in restaurants, in public places. Like I told you, I'd have to like pull over the car. Like if I went out for dinner with friends and I would take a nap because I couldn't make it home like 20 minutes. So I'd have to take a nap to try to recover. I had headaches, chronic urinary tract infections, hives. Every night after I would eat dinner, I would get like wicked hives and welts all over my body, and I would just be like scratching my skin to death. Like, and I just accepted that as part of my life.
Right.
So I had that. I had all kinds of crazy fungus all over my body.
Oh my gosh.
Like down there, everywhere, both areas, like itchy fungus. I would get cold sores a lot. Athlete's foot. I've told you this, my feet stunk like nobody's business, like just reeked, right? And then I had this thing where, because I couldn't really digest the plant matter, I guess, that I smelled like I had bad breath, but it was coming from like the lack of digestion, like not from my mouth.
Right.
And then my dental health was horrible. Like I had so much plaque, so much tartar, really sensitive teeth, you know, like sensitive to just breathing in air, not just like cold water. And then I would have eroding gums. Like I was starting to lose my gums already. I had some acne, not a ton, but, and then I also had a weird condition with my feet where anytime I would just even put them into cool water, they would, I would have like just this horrible pain. Like they're like my feet were being stabbed like every square inch with like knives or needles.
Oh,
Like it was intolerable. And then I was cold, like
all the
crazy.
time. Hands
Like,
and
chills to
feet,
the
or just
bone.
all over
My
cold?
whole body,
Mm.
whole body. And everybody always made fun of me because I would be wearing a down coat in like the dead of summer, right? And everybody would say, oh, here she comes again with her down coat. And the funny thing is none of this ever registered, right? None of this ever, there's my down coat. That was probably summer happy hour with my coworkers, right?
Right.
You can see in that middle picture, that's kind of like, that's late 30s where I really was at a point where you can see my hair is really dry. I'm very pale. That's kind of my standard. And I was really skinny, like skinny, scrawny fat. Mind you, I didn't have any muscle tone. It was all what you see there, what the bulk I do have, was all like gushy, pale fat.
Right.
And I had horrible arthritis. I forgot about that too.
Oh
I
my
had the
gosh.
most horrific joint pain. I felt so like all of my tendons, I was doing all this yoga, right? So you think, oh, you're going to be all like limber, but I had horrible arthritis in my hips, in my knees. And like basically all of my tissue was kind of inflamed and it hurt. And I was so drained of energy all the time. I think I probably had like adrenal fatigue or chronic fatigue syndrome, but I would sleep so much, right? So if I had a 3-day weekend, I would like sleep the majority of the weekend. And so, you know, I was basically spending my time either sleeping, you know, like napping, or sleeping really long hours because I was so tired, crying, because I was very weepy, very emotional.
You're very emotional.
Super sensitive. Like I would cry all the time over whatever. And then I would also just worry, obsess and worry about everything like crazy. Like this kind of obsessive perfectionism about work and school, everything, you know? So obviously I was not doing well, but none of that ever registered because I was so convinced that, you know, I was constantly researching biohacks and like trying to optimize my health. You know, I'm really into health, but I never had any energy to really do anything. So that was ironic, having like zero energy.
Right.
And just like, you know, willing myself through everything.
Right.
And being so tired, like literally so tired, I could fall asleep anywhere. And people would make fun of me, like, oh, there she goes again. I'd go over to a friend's house and I'd fall asleep.
Right.
And they'd say, don't come over if you're just going to fall asleep, right?
Wow. Wait, so now to be clear, on when you started Carnivore, all of these things cleared up. Isn't that right?
All of them. Every last thing I told you.
Amazing. So let's take a look at
and even more so, like there were improvements beyond those things.
Yeah. So tell us here. So when did you start your carnivore diet?
So like I said, I was having these health problems. I had started eating meat again in 2016 because it was just a freak thing that I told you my partner, he had back surgery and he was recovering. And so I was a vegetarian, but I was cooking food for him. And one day I just broke down. I was like, I'm going to eat some meat. I was cooking it and it smelled so delicious. So I ate chicken thighs to start. And then I started meat again. So this is 2016. I added meat again and I was eating carbs and I was eating a lot of vegetables, like still trying to keep a balanced plate. But then because of all those symptoms I told you about that were all like seemingly like yeast and fungus and just, I ended up finding this stumbling upon this diet in May of 2019, the Anti-Candida Diet. And that's kind of like a low carb, low starch vegetables and, proteins. And I thought, oh, I did this little inventory and I took all my symptoms and I was scored like a 250 or something, like the max you could get on like candida overgrowth. So I started there. And then after that, like literally like a month later, I read Jordan Peterson's book, that 12 Rules
for Life.
For Life. I heard about his, Michaela's story, and I was like, oh, I've had all that. I wonder if I have all these autoimmune things related to like diet, right? And then I saw his interview on Joe Rogan, and he's talking about the red meat only. So I right away, I just said, I'm going to try it, mainly because of the depression thing. He's like, this cured depression. And I'm like, I have struggled with depression my entire life. I didn't even have kids because there's so much mental illness in my family. I was like, I can't get married. I can't have kids. I can't do anything. My life, I need to kill the gene pool here, right? So I started July 2019, and then I was basically 95% carnivore through, let's see, I wrote it down, November 2020, right? So that was like 16 months at 95% carnivore. And then I started, I joined MeatRx, and then I learned more about high fat. So I added, I added high fat for a couple months and went 100% carnivore. And then this past month, January 2021, I did ribeye only. So basically it's been 19 months of carnivore.
And this is what you've noticed. So I wanna see what the difference was between 95% for that long, because you were doing it for a while, and comparing it to the 100% the ribeye only, for example. Was it a significant shift? Was it little? What kind of comparison can you give just from going 95% to this?
I would say a lot of my physical symptoms, like all of the things I mentioned, plus a lot of the mental symptoms, had already alleviated with carnivore. So, but I want to qualify that and say it's 95% carnivore wasn't good enough. When I got to 100% animal foods, I was doing really well overall, like physically. All of that stuff went away, right? So I was just like completely, all of the physical ailments healed, and I was doing very well overall mentally. But the part that shifted by going to ribeye and water only, no salt, was because I basically eliminated coffee and butter and all those things that I was still eating. Like right before going to ribeye only, I was eating butter, bacon, eggs, ribeye, ground beef, scallops, coffee. Like that was kind of like my core right before that. So when I went to ribeye only, it was just like, oh, in our coaching session, when we talked about it, because I came to you because I was looking to go to the next level of something and I didn't know what to shift. And when you told me, hey, why not just try it, see what happens for a couple weeks. And you had shared with me your results when you did ribeye only, and seeing you do the full wide-legged splits and the 2-fingered push-ups, and seeing your journey. I mean, and then your coaching session with me, that really just said to me, hey, why not try this? And it's ironic that I never considered it, since Michaela and Jordan Peterson were the ones who started out saying that's the protocol, right? To get to completely get to remission 100% on depression and anxiety. I already knew that from day one, but I never considered doing it. And I've followed the Andersons, and I know their story, and I know the way they look amazing, right? And then you're telling me this too. So when you said that, I thought, okay, why not, right? You're right. You told me you can do anything for 2 weeks, and that the 2 weeks might be a little hard, but then by week 3, you're going to be, you're going to be feeling it. And you were absolutely right. So the difference is, it's significant, I would say, because I went to basically having no anxiety, no depression. My sleep is really great now. I need much less sleep. I used to wake up in the middle of the night all the time because I would have to pee, or I'd be getting like leg cramps. Like there were certain things that were kind of a little bit funky still on carnivore. What else? I mean, it's very subtle, but really profound. Like I'm extremely decisive, clear-headed. I feel more articulate. My vocabulary, like I can think of like words are just coming to me all the time. And I'm using words that how they say you use the same words every day in your language. It's like, I'll start using words that are just like, they're coming on quick retrieval now from my brain. And it's like all circuits are firing now. And I finally hit the carnivore zen. I never really got that completely, right? Because I feel like now my brain is not inflamed. There's nothing entering my microbiome or my brain that is causing any hint of inflammation or histamine response. I forgot to mention that my nose used to be, I had horrible allergies. I could never breathe through my nose my entire life, and I could never smell my whole life. And so now on carnivore, and even better a little bit with ribeye only, I can breathe completely clearly through my nose. I don't sneeze it's weird. It kind of cured environmental allergies. I was crazy allergic to dust mites, and it's like dust hasn't disappeared, but I can breathe completely clear. I can smell like a wolf now. I don't know if wolves have good sense of smell, but I can smell like an animal, right? It's like everything's super, sensitive, where I can just like detect things. My hunger, that was a huge thing. When I was just regular carnivore and eating other animal foods, I never got a good grip on my hunger. I was just like eating constantly, gorging, like just always hungry, always looking, because carnivore foods are delicious, right?
Right.
But now with ribeye only, I've gotten now just totally involuntarily to 15, today I hit 20 hours of intermittent fasting.
Wow.
And I'm only eating one ribeye a day, which thanks to you, I'm getting the untrimmed prime Costco ribeye. So I'm eating for $11 a day at most. And I'm eating, I'm eating the fat and then the steak, one 1-inch steak a day. And I eat it over 3 small meals in a relatively compressed eating window. And I feel like just clear-headed, stable energy like I've never experienced in my whole life. I've never experienced this degree of wellness, like physically and mentally. And you told me, your metaphor about chasing the unicorn, and it's like you told me, the unicorn exists, and now I believe not only that the unicorn exists, but I feel like in the past couple of weeks I've touched the hair.
Yes.
I'm betting, and here's
You're
my
betting the
unicorn.
unicorn. That's it.
I'm
Fantastic.
like this now.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's profound. I mean, it's I think that's I really want to acknowledge you for coaching me, because like I said, we all watch a lot, we know a lot, the information is there, but you really talking to me and listening to me and getting into my head about like, well, what is the lid I'm putting on myself for really taking things to that next level? Like, why? You made me realize, why am I stopping myself? Like, why am I putting a limit on my potential? And I think no one has ever been able, and I've done a lot of therapy. I mean, I've done every training under the sun. I'm like a training personal growth junkie. So to have you have a half-hour conversation with me and work with my psychology and tell me like, go for it. Like, why not? And I don't want to put too much emphasis necessarily on the ribeye only, because I know people who are beginning, you don't have to do that to get huge. I mean, so many things. It's just taking it that next level, right? I'm getting like an extra, 10%. Like I was at maybe, 90%, and now I'm at 100 or beyond even,
Right.
So I don't want anyone to be discouraged thinking that, oh, you have to do ribeye only in order to get results. And yet, if you do have any kind of predisposition to mental illness or troubling, biochemistry in your brain, I absolutely would 100% say start there and don't wait like I did. Don't wait, 16 months or, 18 months to try it. Like, just go for it. And, like you said, the first 2 weeks are going to be kind of like hard. But I just wanted to circle back to that part about the not eating. Like, I never was able to fast. I was always my entire life just obsessing, just waiting to be hungry again so I could eat more food. And so this is the first time that I'm with the ribeye that I'm truly tuned into my hunger, like real hunger. And I can now detect whether I need more fat or whether I need more protein. Like, it's so instinctive now. And it's like, I'm not even sweating it. And the duration, when you told me you're doing rolling 48s, I'm thinking, how on earth could that happen, that you only need to eat that infrequently? But it's just gradually, naturally becoming that, where it's like, oh, today I hit 20 hours. And I'm starting to feel better during the fasted times.
Yes.
Then, like, I feel like, oh, now eating's kind of like, it's going to slow me down a little bit, right? But as I said, just the small details of how you conduct your life. My relationships are just going super great. I mean, I work with all the same people. I have the same parents. I have the same partner. And it's like, everything's just so much easier. And I notice it in little things, like if I'm tidying the house, it's like, normally the house would just be all messy. And today I'm just going, I see a solution instantly, right? I used to be very indecisive and hesitant and like, oh, is this right? Is this right? Is this right? Questioning everything, doubting everything. And now it's like, I take an action and I know exactly what I need to do. I look at something and I know this belongs here. This is a good place to put it. This is like the priority of what I need to do today. And I always struggle with executive function, prioritization and sequencing, order of operations. It was always hugely problematic for me, making decisions, trusting myself. I didn't have that. And now that part has certainly improved with the beef, ribeye, fatty ribeye only. So
this really changed almost who you are.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. 100%.
Amazing.
It's like as if I just landed with a whole new brain and a whole new body.
Wow. And I have to admit, you sure look it with that whole new body. I mean, looking great. And I love how you're tanning, even from the beginning of the 95% carnivore. Your 10 wasn't, I mean, as you could tell in veganism, you definitely didn't have a 10. No 10 whatsoever. But even when you started, you weren't near as 10 nor as muscular as when you went on the Lion diet, on the Anderson protocol diet. So exactly. It's fantastic. Great results.
And I want to emphasize, though, that during this entire time, I haven't done any exercise because
I'm glad you said that.
We've been in lockdown, and I literally, so all these muscles and everything, I'm excited to use them and learn to use them. But because I broke my elbow in July of this year. And so I haven't even been able to do yoga, no push-ups, no nothing, right? Everything I'm doing physical therapy. I did heal quite rapidly from that. I have a plate and 6 screws in my left arm but I want to say that I literally have I've been the most sedentary of my entire life this past year. I was never very much athletic, but you can see I've just been sitting on my butt teleworking for an entire year now. And I live in a mobile home park. So it's like, there's nowhere pretty to walk. So I don't do anything. I'm not doing any weights because my elbow, I've got that plate in there. And so I just want to emphasize that it's like that, to me, it's pretty startling that I have muscle.
And you look like you have abs. Strong. Look at that. You have abs.
Yeah, I mean, 0 sit-ups, nothing.
Yeah.
And I remember the Anderson saying that.
Here.
Like,
right.
Charlene said something, I read something that it said when she did exercise and she was on ribeye only.
Bulky.
Exactly.
Right.
So
it wasn't feminine for her, so she stopped working out. Amazing, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're proof of it.
Well, thank you for, I said, I definitely feel very grateful to you for the coaching that you've given me and checking in with me all the time, ask me how it's going. Because when I was going through those rough first few weeks, I kept wanting to just stop, because ironically I was getting not cravings for anything non-carnivore. Everything was cravings for like eggs and butter and bacon and, you know, all these other types of meat, right? And so, you know, I kept thinking, oh, I'm going to see Raymond tomorrow, so I'm going to keep going so I can tell him I'm still doing it. And then once you pass that point where you turn the corner and it feels right and it feels good, then you're, you know, you're just enjoying the fruits, right? Or the meat, rather.
I'm so right. The meats of the yes. I'm so happy you trusted me enough to actually risk that journey for yourself. So, and I'm glad you reaping the rewards for it too, and proving that I'm not crazy. That I felt all this. You felt what petting the unicorn could feel like. So now you can't unknow that knowledge.
That's great.
Janice, thank you so much. If anybody wanted to get in touch with you, do you have a Facebook account or Twitter or anything that you keep up with? And if not, that's fine.
I have a Facebook account. I haven't logged on for probably 5 or 6 years. It's
No
active.
problem.
I mean, and I don't really have anything as of now.
No problem. Well, that's okay. If you want to hear any more from Janice, or if you have any questions about her, feel free to contact me, of course. I am a coach at MeatRx, and if you would like any further coaching from MeatRx, just go ahead and book me on MeatRx.com, and you'll see me on there, and book me for a session. Thank you very much. Thank you, Janice, for having this interview with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Raymond.